So we are just walking over. I'm going to be over here in a minute here. I want to jaywalk with the police right there. So I need to get picked up for is jaywalking. You can see the snow kind of melted today, but it's starting to freeze over. So this is a protest against Walz, having to do with ICE, the ICE immigration. So despite Walz calling out President Trump and, in my opinion, taking a pretty hardline stance against Trump, we have protesters against Walz. So they're going to be asking for a lot more than just immigration, apparently. So let's get the camera set up here. Bear with me. Just running a couple minutes late. You can see this is the protest right here.
Minnesota, fighting for the total liberation of Palestine. Kahler Nygard. Thank you.
So we are outside Governor Walz's mansion.
People united will never be defeated.
The people united will never be defeated.
The people united will never be defeated.
The people united will never be defeated.
All right, like our MC said, my name is Lena and I'm a proud member of USPCN.
Yeah, Shane, thank you for dropping in.
Here today to echo Mirak's
I really appreciate you stopping by, man.
to do his job, protect our neighbors,
Get set up here.
even when we're not actively being gunned down on the streets.
So this is the governor's mansion.
Have shown us that the depravity of fascist violence knows no limits. And we've
Here in Minnesota.
Our elected officials like Governor Walz jump on opportunities to move on from the uncomfortable realities of this country's cruelty. To ignore the harm caused to our communities and to forsake real justice in favor of shallow victories crafted out of complicity, all in the name of claiming peace. But we know that there's no peace with complicity. Not for us in Minnesota, not for oppressed peoples anyway.
Hey, what's up, Baxter? Welcome.
News outlets may have moved on from Palestine and have begun to move on from Minnesota, but we know that Israel is continuing to violate ceasefire agreements with Palestine on a daily basis with bombs and munitions paid for with our taxes. And we also know that ICE terror in our streets has not ended yet. So are we content with that? Are we going to let up our fights for justice? Of course not. We know that fascists don't just decide to stop brutalizing people because our governor or our president have patted themselves on the back for establishing peace. For one, the notion that any peace has been established while people are still being abducted and murdered is bullshit. True, fascists only stop when we stop them. And we tear down the systems that allow them to murder our people with absolute impunity. Fascist violence does not just magically disappear or go dormant when our elected officials choose to ignore it. It continues to ramp up until we actively organize against it. Our enemies are organized but vastly outnumbered. We have the power to and must work towards building a future that matches the compassion Minnesotans have shown to one another over these last few months. By ignoring and thus enabling the suffering of Palestinians during this ongoing genocide, by refusing to divest Minnesota money from corporations facilitating the genocide in Gaza, Walz ceded territory to the fascists. It's only natural that the tools of oppression used on Palestinians, tools manufactured by the likes of Palantir, would come back to use against our own communities. If we want to win, we must recognize that all of our struggles are ideologically and materially connected. that it is all of us who are against human suffering versus those who are manufacturing human suffering. And we must act accordingly. We must continue fighting for and with all oppressed peoples, even if they do not look like us, and even if we're not presently experiencing identical plights. And we must continue demanding that Tim Walz stops negotiating with fascists and passes policies to actually ensure some semblance of peace in our communities. We have too much at stake for Walz to take a beat when he feels that there is not an active, ongoing crisis in our communities. We have too much at stake for Walz to cede any more territory to Trump's cartoonishly evil gains.
All right, for people just coming in, we're at the Minnesota Governor's Mansion. Tim Walz is current residence. He's a Democrat DFLer. And these are not Republicans or conservatives here.
Killers have still not been brought to justice. Kidnapped indigenous and immigrant community members are still unaccounted for. Families in Palestine are still being torn apart, martyred, and arbitrarily detained in Israeli torture camps. No oversight or due process. The crisis is here, and we need to fight back and use our allegedly progressive politicians like Tim Walz to stand the fuck up and fight back with us. At the end of the day, he's either with the people or with the fascists. And I think we all know which side's going to be winning. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido.
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 Free Palestine, legalization for all.
Yeah, legalization, I'm for that. Legalize it. Police driving by there.
Immigrant rights are under attack. What do we do? Immigrant rights are under attack. What do we do? That's right. We are that Minnesota Immigrant Action Committee, and we are for all the abolishment of ICE.
That's a good question. I don't know why no one else is covering this.
Had to go through lockdown.
It's a good question.
It is freaking traumatic, right? It is fucking worse. And
Oh, this is 100% a peaceful protest. I haven't seen any negative energy at all. Let me know if you can hear them fine. I can always move up and get us above the crowd. Oh, okay, you're in Florida, nice. A lot warmer than here. It's below freezing right now.
We have to abolish the whole damn thing.
Cool, cool.
Otherwise, schools in other cities, other states are going to go through the same shit. And kids all under lockdown in their houses. That is traumatic, and it is not right. That ain't right. So when immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do? When immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do? When immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do? Thank you. I would like to introduce our next speaker, which is Morgan from the Minnesota Immigrant Rights Action Committee. Morgan is a member of our group. Obviously, we're an all-volunteer grassroots group. We're fighting for equal protection for all, abolish
say fuck. You say ICE. Fuck. ICE. Fuck. ICE. Fuck. ICE. Hello, everybody. My name is Morgan Bidiandri. I'm with the Minnesota Immigrants' Rights Action Committee.
His official residence. This is owned by the state of Minnesota, where the governors move to once they become governor.
Shit. Our streets were flooded with 3,000 federal agents on invasion.
Jesse Ventura and his son used to throw some pretty big parties back in the day, from what I heard.
They came to our cities to kidnap, shoot, and kill us, leaving empty seats at dinner tables and families in ruins.
Yeah, I should take a tour here someday.
Here's a question. When this violence hit our communities, were we scared? No, we were not scared. When our local leaders did nothing, it was up to us to fight back. And we fought back hard. We fought back so hard that the ghouls in the federal government became scared, realizing that they were waging a war they could not win. They went from waging a war to timidly cutting deals with our local leaders, hoping we would just forget what was happening. But you know who's not able to just. My coworkers were still afraid to go to work. My friends, whose moms and dads have been deported and sent hundreds of miles away. My neighbors, who've been brutalized, tear gassed, and killed.
Let me know. I'm still waiting on hearing where that link is I can get paid to protest. I show up to enough of these. It'd be nice to get a check for it.
The families of the 38 people who died in ICE custody last year won't forget. We are not going to forget.
All I got to do is hold a sign. Let me know where.
Fighting. But now, in the wake of all these deaths, Tim Walz and the voters czar Tom Homan are making deals behind closed doors to have our local law enforcement hand over data on our vulnerable residents over to the fascist DHS and immigration enforcement. Sheriffs across the state are cooperating with ICE to put a target on the back deputizing their officers and turning the justice system into a fast track to the deportation.
I do know there was energy. I went to Ilhan Omar's town hall, and there were a few people, and there were claps for it too. And somebody suggested the Democrats not go into the State of the Union.
What do we want? When do we want it? And so, Tim, we're making it loud and clear what we want. All the violence in the town and our streets.
And then Ilhan said that was a bad idea not to go to the State of the Union because they're going to fill the seats no matter what.
This immigration system cannot be reformed. It's rooted in violence and terror.
And that they have a bunch of people ready to go to sit down at the State of the Union at the last minute if they decide to protest.
So Tim, if you can hear me, throw some balls and protect your people. These are our demands. We demand an eviction moratorium to take care of those of us living in fear. We demand an end to 287G agreements. We demand an end to cooperation between local law enforcement and federal agents. We demand Minnesota to be declared a sanctuary state where people aren't afraid of roving mass gangs on the street, kidnapping them because of the color of their skin. We demand justice for the victims of ICE and legalization for all. Because in Minnesota, we make no compromises. These are our demands, and we're going to keep on fighting. Because when we fight, we win. When we fight, when we fight, when we fucking fight. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, repeat after me. Not me, not me, not migra. La misma porquería.
La misma porquería.
La poli, la migra.
La poli, la migra.
La misma porquería.
La misma porquería.
Now it's my great pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Lisa Washington, from the wrongfully incarcerated and overstayed Council. Lisa was referred to the ICE produced a well as other things important so that she's leaving.
No, I don't think Walz is going to force him out. No.
Can you hear me out there? Am I loud enough?
There would have to be traffic being blocked or something like that, and they seem to have these people in yellow vests to try and
Because we refuse to be
do something. Here, let me show you. We got people with yellow vests down here. Over here, you got them in front, of course, and some more over there. And those are people that are a part of the protest. I don't believe they're cops or anything. I think they're like literally part of the protest.
We are watching you.
Well, you can volunteer to be a yellow vest at these protests if you so choose.
Our counties are not holding
The marshals,
federal
okay.
breaks. Our communities are not bargaining chips. For years, black, brown, and indigenous communities asked for real leadership, real protection, real courage. Too often, what we've gotten is hesitation, compromise, and political calculation. Can I get a shame? Governor Walz, we're not running again. You have nothing to lose and everything to prove.
No, I don't know what the address is off the top of my head. It's whatever, the Minnesota governor's residence. It used to be called the mansion, but now it's called the residence, apparently, or at least on Google Maps.
Let your final chapter be courage, not collaboration. And let's talk about what's coming next. Amy Klobuchar is running for that seat.
Ooh, Amy Klobuchar is a Democrat.
Minnesota deserves the full truth about her record. During her time in the Hennepin County Attorney's Office, she was part of and helped advance a harsh, tough on crime period that handed out extreme sentences to black boys and girls. Teenagers, children, some of them innocent, many of them given decades, some given
Oh,
life
okay,
without
right on.
parole. Shame. Young
Thank you.
lives were locked away instead of invested in. Communities were over-policed and over-punished instead of supported. Families were torn apart and courtrooms were being tough meant devastating black futures. Can I get a shame on that? That is the absolute truth. Don't just take my word for it. Go look it up. It's public records. Ask the name Ryan Burrell. Ask the
Yeah, they're calling out Amy Klobuchar here.
Ask the name Martin.
You're not going to find that in the news, I bet. That the protesters are going against Amy Klobuchar?
Their names sit on a long and painful list of people harmed during that era of prostitution, a system that fed mass incarceration and left black families carrying the trauma. Ryan lost years of his life before his case was still suffering after being locked away at the age of 16 years old with adults. That's right, Shan. Cornelius, a teenager, when he was taken, is still fighting for his freedom nearly 2 decades later. Free corn, that's right.
It's starting to pick up here.
We are supposed to believe that the same political establishment that fueled incarceration will now protect immigrant families and ICE raids in the dark. Question mark, y'all. No. We demand leadership that does not cooperate with fear. We demand leadership that does not trade human beings for political convenience. We demand leadership that stands with black.
That's the
brown,
updated
and
Minnesota
indigenous
flag.
communities.
Oh,
Not just in speeches, but in action.
are you talking about the one that also had the Mexican flag below it? I believe that's a native flag.
Be collaboration with us.
I could be wrong on that.
To Amy Klobuchar, we have not forgotten the harm. Y'all remember that when it's time for election. To the people of Minnesota, remember the names, remember the pattern, remember who stood up and who stayed silent. Our communities are not disposable. Our children are not our freedom is not negotiable. We are still here. We are still
That guy who had the
organizing,
Mexican
and
flag and
we're
that
not
blue one's
backing
walking
down.
off.
I say, y'all.
It was hard to tell what that blue one exactly was.
Thank you. Are you guys warm? Are you warm? Turn to your neighbor. Tell them you're warm. I feel warm. Like this. When I say chinga, you say la migra. Chinga. 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 The lights are on in there. Does that mean someone's in there? What do you think? Chinga. Chinga. The lights on Tim Wall's house. Is someone in there? No. Chinga. Chinga. Okay, we're gonna get a little warm now. So if you have a sign, we're gonna do a little
Peace.
getting warm movement action. We're gonna go get up, get down, and then you got get up, get down, get down. Minneapolis won't back down. Are you guys ready? Here we go. Exactly. Exactly. Ready? Put your signs ready. Get up, get down. Minneapolis won't back down. 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 I feel really warm, you guys.
That's actually really smart to get a move in to warm up here because it is cold.
I'm gonna say, "Que es lo que queremos?" And then you guys are gonna yell right back, "Justicia, justicia, justice, justice." You know this one, right? And then I'm gonna say, "Y cuando la queremos?" And you guys are gonna say, "Ahora, ahora." Ready? ¿Listos? ¿Qué es lo que queremos? ¿Y cuándo la queremos? ¿Qué es lo que queremos? ¿Y cuándo la queremos? ¿Qué es lo que queremos?
I have no idea what they're saying.
¿Qué
Yeah.
queremos?
Maybe somebody who knows Spanish could translate it for us in
¿Qué
the
es lo que
chat.
queremos? ¿Y cuándo la queremos? ¿Qué es lo que queremos?
¡Justicia, justicia!
¿Y cuándo la queremos? ¿Qué es lo que queremos?
¡Justicia!
¿Y cuándo la queremos? Make some noise!
Thank you, Rasta. I really needed that excuse to move around and get that.
Police just drove
My
by.
great honor to introduce our next speaker, who is the Anti-War Committee. Okay, please. Take it away.
So Tim Walz is the governor here in Minnesota. He's a Democrat and he ran with Kamala Harris for president, but they lost to Trump.
But I can only ask Walz not to sell out immigrants any more than he already has. I have already seen the pictures.
These are not conservatives.
Professional
If I was to give them a label, it'd be
I said,
leftist.
what we need are kidnappers kidnapping more professionally. Shame! Walz talks as if the problem is lack of cooperation with local police officers, as if local law enforcement officers did not already routinely.
They're upset with him and Amy Klobuchar,
Shame.
who are both Democrats, actually.
Walz asked for more night raids, as if the problem with the raids was how easy it was for
They were upset
responders
with
to make a scene.
Amy
And
Klobuchar
not
over her
the kidnapping
record
of our neighbors.
as a
Shame.
prosecutor.
Walz could have instituted an eviction
And they don't
moratorium
think.
a while ago.
Here we go.
Could have provided much needed relief to fearful families sheltered in place.
That's
Shame.
what they want.
These capitulations are unfortunately not surprising and come out of problems that existed even before Metro surge, including the normalization of state violence against people of color at home and abroad. We have so many ways to justify when violence had an acceptable target, often when that target is already oppressed. We have normalized police violence against our black neighbors, both on our streets and in our prisons. We have normalized violence against immigrants, especially everywhere, but especially at the border, where Border Patrol destroys water supplies left out for migrants. In May 2023, the Arizona Border Patrol shot and killed Raymond Matia, who is not only a citizen, but also a citizen of the Tohono Nation. The fact that reporting included both Raymond's murder and citizenship status together highlights the mechanisms of state violence at play, determining who and who is and is not an effective. The status quo was already applied. We have also normalized violence and genocide in Palestine, Sudan, and the imperial periphery. For example, Walz shares the State Board of Investments as from the FBI. The FBI has $5.6 billion invested in companies complicit in Israel's genocide. This includes $1.4 million in Israel's largest weapons manufacturer, Elbit Systems, which makes a majority Elbit makes a majority of the drones used to surveil and kill Palestinians. The state has another $55 million invested in Thailand, a tech and AI company that boasted about Israel using its tech in the September 2024 Asia bombings. Well, the exact details of
Well, I run my own independent YouTube channel.
Oh,
Yeah.
what's the
Has
channel?
boasted that
Kahler
customers
Nygard.
have no restriction
Kahler Nygard.
Yeah.
to use its
Yeah, I was at Whipple and other
And we have
stuff.
seen
Yeah.
Israel use
You're not
AI
with,
programs to monitor and study
Alpha
to
News,
generate
are you?
No. No,
You
I'm
know
my
what
own
they are,
dude.
right?
Oh yeah, I'm well aware.
These
I don't like her
investments
because she's
by
like
public
against
corporations
legalization and stuff like
Yes.
that. I'm a legalization dude. so-
divest from Israel, divest from Elbit, divest from Palestine.
Because I scout people who are a problem, and 85% of the time I'm correct.
Oh, okay, right on.
The Joker here.
But there is
Nobody
that
panics
15%
Yeah.
even if the claim
where I
is
reported
horrifying.
someone and I was
Well,
wrong, like I
Walz
was
is
earlier.
fine, the resulting suffering is regrettable. He does his duty as governor, overseeing and
Yeah, you're welcome to look up my channel and yeah, look up everything. I'm just trying to be like as accurate as possible, like, you know, following up with like Amy Klobuchar's record. No, he was just asking questions.
Okay.
because of the scale of resources deployed against us. We all care for each other in ways that the system is not capable. Businesses shut down on February 23rd, and some reduced service more generally to protect their workers.
Yeah, what was the organization again?
BIRAC, Anti-War Committee.
Oh, okay, so it's like a coalition?
Yes, we are.
Right on.
Ensure that kidnappings could not happen in quiet. Renee Good and Alex Cody died protecting their neighbors. We keep our neighbors safe. All of this compromises tries to recontain the
So they want to make sure I'm not with Alpha News. Alpha News is a conservative-leaning type thing for sure, or I'd say even far right-wing. Liz Collins is the one who runs it. Her husband is Bob Kroll, who's infamous here in Minnesota.
Now, deals to hand over immigrant prisoners, hide the deportation of violence in prisons instead of in the streets, but it doesn't get rid of that violence. Conducting night raids when community members are not awake to help, again, does not prevent the violence. It makes it worse and just hides it away. But Walz, you cannot hide. You cannot escape state violence by hiding it away. To start playing the effective victim game would be a moral state. We care about our immigrant neighbors on the street.
Well, there are orange cones set up. I don't know if they set up those cones. So, and they're staying back from the white line there.
We keep us safe not by avoiding risk, but by sharing it. These systems of state violence also feed on each other and grow, even when hidden away. And those systems profit as the risk of spectacle targets the state. The DHS didn't really here. We have our own history.
Well, I don't disagree that it's the street. I'm questioning whether they're right of it.
Elbit CEO has posted
I believe they're on the correct side of the right. And you can see they got the traffic lights to go along.
Customers that include the DHS. The DHS deploys Elbit weapons and surveillance along the U.S. and Mexico border. and Albert plans on helping construct over 300 surveillance towers for DHS between 2023 and 2033. Meanwhile, shame! Meanwhile, Palantir contracts with the DHS to provide immigration OS and Elite App programs that pull information from databases, social media, and public programs to track immigrants' movements. And violence does not stay contained. Our enemies use these connections to fuel and arm each other. And they also mean that we have an opportunity to strike a blow to both DHS and Israel with the emergence of death they both provide. Walz could divest now if he wanted. He could have also divested of housing with his ongoing demand. Saying, also, in the spirit of how much we have accomplished...
Yeah, I don't think Walz would give me a comment.
These past few months without Walz...
Be dope to get an audience with him, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Irrelevant. Or we're not begging him to have Walz because he's out of the way. We're doing what we need to do. A future where public workers have a true say in pensions. There are investments in the future in another way in which we care for each other. Divest from Elbit, divest from here, divest from Israel, divest from ICE. Amen.
So this is the coalition kind of thing. Everybody has different causes here, and they come together to all support each other.
Okay, we're gonna get warm again because I'm not. So we're gonna get warm. We're gonna do some of this. Make a beat, but at the same time, you guys. Boom, boom. Yeah. Here we go. Boots, boots, boots are on the ground. We're here to shut this shit down. Boots, boots, boots are on the ground. We're here to shut this shit down. If you really do some like Zumba. Ready? Boots, boots, boots are on the ground. We're here to shut this shit down. Boots, boots, boots are on the ground. We're here to shut this shit down. Boots, boots, boots are on the ground. We're here to shut this shit down. I'm so warm. Boots, boots, boots are on the ground. We're here.
I'm cold.
We're here to shut this shit down. Louder. Boots, boots, boots are on the ground. We're here to shut this shit down. Boots, boots, boots are on the ground. We're here to shut this shit down. Okay, I feel really warm now.
Here to shut down ICE. They're protesting Governor Walz for not standing up to Trump and ICE.
You guys are going to answer me that you're here.
There's been talk about how bad Amy Klobuchar is because of her prosecutor record.
I'm going to say it again.
Prosecutorial.
Minnesota! I'm going to say, I do it for my people. You guys are going to translate for me. Lo hago pa mi gente. Ready? We're going to practice. Minnesota! Minnesota! I do it for my people. Minnesota! Minnesota! I do it for my people. Minnesota! Minnesota! I do it for my people. Yo lo hago pa mi gente. Exactly, you got it. If you're confused, ask your name.
A lot of these people might not be Democrats, that's true.
Minnesota! I do it for my people. There we go. Minnesota! Minnesota! I do it for my people. Minnesota! Minnesota! I do it for my people. Minnesota! Alright, Minnesota. I do it for my people. Minnesota! Minnesota! I do it for my people. Walz, escucha, estamos en la lucha. Walz, escucha, estamos en la lucha. Walz, escucha, estamos en la lucha. Okay, I'm getting cold again, so we're gonna just.
Yeah, I try to show the, honest truth of what's
Get
happening.
up, get down.
So you're perfect for hanging around this channel.
Get up,
If you're
get
looking for
down.
the truth.
Minneapolis won't back down. Get up, get down. Minneapolis won't back down. Get up, get down. Minneapolis won't back down. Get up, get down.
What up, Robert? Thank you for
Minneapolis
stopping
won't
by.
back down. Get up, get down. Minneapolis won't back down. Get up, get down. Minneapolis won't back down. Get up, get down.
The dancing is a technique to keep the crowd warm because of how cold it gets here at night.
Minneapolis won't back down.
We're surrounded by ice, snow, frozen snow. It's melted, so it's cold here at nighttime.
Minneapolis won't back down. Get up, get down. Minneapolis won't back down. Get up, get down. Minneapolis won't back down. That's right.
It helps keep the energy up too.
Aquí estamos. Y no nos vamos. Y si nos echan.
They're staying outside the fence, that is correct. There's been no attempts to go beyond the fence or the gate, the barrier or wall, whatever you want to call it, for the governor's mansion there. And they're staying off the right of way, I'd say, as well.
Nos regresamos. Aquí estamos. Y no nos vamos. Y si nos echan, nos regresamos.
Okay, we got another song that we'd like you to learn as a chant that one of our members made up on the spot. That we had. Okay, I wanted to share this because one of our speakers mentioned this in his talk. And it's really important for us to remember that ICE is only a culmination of centuries of racist, white supremacist immigration policies. It is not enough for us to get rid of ICE. It is not enough for us to get rid of Border Patrol. It is not enough for us to get rid of DHS. This whole fucking system must be torn down.
Revolutionary.
Here today because you understand that.
Revolutionary language,
It is
for
your
sure.
job. It is your responsibility to talk to your neighbors, to talk to those confused liberals that think that electing
You see, confused liberals.
Klobuchar is going to be good for our state. Amy has every chance.
See, this is why I say it's a leftist protest right here. This is an attack on the right wing. This is an attack on liberal, the Democrat establishment.
Single time for money for the border.
I think
for
that's
money for ICE and for money
an
for
accurate
immigration
description
enforcement.
of what.
We cannot let her take over our state. So you are going to be out here all of the time protesting the Democrats as well as the Republicans because we demand justice. Okay? We'll do that when you're ready. Hell no, we won't go. We won't go to the status quo. So hell no, we won't go. We won't go back to the status quo. Hell no, we won't go. Hell no, we won't go. We won't go back to the status quo. We won't go back to the status quo. Hell
there's a state patrol
Okay.
and state troopers.
Song that was real popular in our marches in 2000.
You got the National Guard.
I know what that I was marching in 2000.
What? You would think that would like sound like insurrection using
One thing we used to do
the National Guard. So I don't think Walz could really do that without risking prison or at least being in trouble.
So that means anyone not jumping into this ice. If you have mobility issues, you do not have to jump. We will not think you are not big enough, okay? But it was really good
we got some
for these
jumping.
very long winters and long marches. Immigrant communities back then would take 4-mile marches at a minimum, right? So we would get cold in
Scotland.
the winter.
There's some history there.
Now, we're going to jump together and we're going to practice.
My fiance gets sick of it, but I love that movie with Chris Pine, Outlaw King, where he's the Bruce.
El que no salta es migra. Es migra.
I just wish that movie was longer. I heard they cut out some scenes. Outlaw King.
El que no salta es migra. 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 That felt really fitting because we've had so many people do fundraisers for us, so thank you to all those punks. So thank you guys so much for coming out tonight in the cold. We appreciate y'all so much. We appreciate your support so much. Please keep showing up.
I'm sure these protests will grow as it warms up.
Our annual May 1st International Workers' Day March.
Well, that one's going to be big, I
It's our 20th year doing it, and so trying to make it the biggest yet, the biggest it's ever been.
bet. That's amazing that
So please,
your family owns a castle in the Loch of Lochman. I'll have to look that up and come and meet you. I'm a big castle guy. That's so cool.
Like Governor Walz and demand accountability. They represent us. We have to call them and tell them to listen. When immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do? When immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do? When immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do? Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate you so much. Get home safe, everybody. Thank you.
All right, sweet. So it looks like the event is ending. This was a leftist protest against Tim Walz. Tim Walz is a governor here in Minnesota. He's a Democrat. So I'm just going to rehash what this is about and then kind of give some of my thoughts as this breaks down. So we're outside the governor's mansion in Minnesota, or the governor's residence as it's called. Let's see here. I can show you some of these flags up there. That's the Minnesota flag. It's been updated. It used to have a settler on it with a Native American on a horse off in the distance, and the settler was farming, and that was considered, not equal, or I don't know exactly, not up to modern times. So it's been replaced with this star representing the North Star. If you go back to, if you know of the Dallas Stars for hockey, they come from Minnesota, the North Stars. So, the North Star State here in Minnesota, it's where a lot of protests have been happening for police brutality, violence, wrongful killings, that kind of thing. There was the George Floyd murder with, the cop is in prison now and the riots that followed. I was there. You can go to my YouTube channel. We got the police driving by right now. You can go to my YouTube channel and look at this. I got a lot of this there. I have a buddy working on a documentary soon, so please stay tuned for that. That'll be dope to be able to show you guys firsthand what happened during the riots, how it went from a peaceful protest into a riot. And I was also at Whipple recently live streaming when almost 100 people got arrested, so mass arrest for that. So this is a leftist protest. If you heard them, they were calling out liberals here. They were calling out, I wouldn't say all Democrats, but definitely liberals. I see people inside the governor's mansion right now walking around. That might be Tim Walz's son, is what it looked like, to be honest. So yeah, they're probably in there chilling. I don't doubt that. And it's basically over his response to ICE. They wanted it to be stronger. Personally, I thought he was as strong or hardline as you can be as a Democrat against Trump. I don't know exactly how he could go further. I'm willing to hear that, but the ideas I've heard so far would lead me to believe something like using the National Guard would do insurrection. I was driving around earlier, and you'll see the cities around in Minneapolis and around it. The further you go out, of course, the more red it's going to be, so you won't see that. But the city and the surrounding very close suburbs have parking lots that do not allow ICE to enter or stage from it. It'll say right on it that they aren't allowed to stage ICE or any federal enforcement on these parking lots, stuff like that. So, but so far I haven't heard of any federal officers being arrested yet. It's hard to tell when state law and federal law come into conflict. What exactly can the state do to defend its rights? Because you have to think, states have revolted against the federal government before. That was what the Civil War was about, was revolting against the government. Of course, the South picked the worst issue that you could have. Freedom is what they claimed it was, but it was freedom to own slaves. And we're still, dealing with the after effects of that to this day. So this protest is starting to break up. I'm just trying to give you my thoughts from what I saw. So they're calling out Amy Klobuchar. She's a Democrat, DFLer, and, calling out her record as a prosecutor. And with that one, I really agree. You go and look at her prosecutor record, and it's just terrible. She was horrible on cannabis for the longest time, which is a pretty big issue to me. I think it should be legal. I'm for, individual rights and liberty. So take away those rights and liberty, that's wrong. And she was somebody who, was on the front, well, maybe not the front lines, but she was a lieutenant in the war on drugs. So this protest has been peaceful the entire time. Unlike Whipple, that one was chaotic, for sure. So if, you got any questions or anything about this protest, what the protesters believe, why they're here, they're a coalition. So I'm going to say there's definitely socialists within the rank, communists, people for labor. I would say progressives, but, not really liberals, because the establishment Democrat Party is currently at odds with this protest. So we got people turning around here. And that's why they got these traffic cones. So it's not just an old folks' home. This is the governor's mansion. This is where Tim Walz, the Democrat, lives. And this is against them in their response to ICE, to their response to the Border Patrol being here. They think that the deaths that happened in Minneapolis are the result. They're asking to put the lights on because it's a publicly funded building. Honestly, if I was governor, there's like a pretty good chance, I would invite the people in. Especially if it's a smaller crowd like this, and let's hash it out, let's have a talk, let's have a meeting. I'd be willing to hear out anybody who's a constituent, figure out who's from Minnesota. Anybody from Minnesota that could come on in, I'd say, out of this small crowd right now. There's a lot of people have left. But, you know, they ask for a harder stance against ICE, and I'm having a hard time seeing exactly how that would be accomplished. You know, if anybody who agrees with these protesters, I'm on Facebook. Send me anything that you can on what we can do to change the current trajectory against ICE in a way that wouldn't be a civil war in a way, you know, or insurrection. We got the DFL convention coming up. So this is also, you know, there's Angie Craig versus Penny Flanagan coming up right now. I've been called over that to see my opinion on that one. I haven't talked to Angie Craig or Penny. I gotta look it up more, but it seems like Penny Flanagan is the more progressive. Let's see here if I can get myself set up so you guys can see me talking. Let's see how cold it is here. So we got the protest here going on in the background, or the remnants of that protest. And this is the governor's mansion right there. And so the reason I'm going to call this protest a leftist protest is because it's against liberals too. It's not just against the right wing. So they have issues with Trump. There's issues with Amy Klobuchar. There's issues with Vance. There's issues with the entire Republican establishment. They're going to think, this group right here is going to think that Republicans are in fact fascist Nazis. And then I would add that they probably think liberals and maybe some progressives, you know, progressives might be on that fence whether they believe they're collaborators or not. But they view the establishment liberals as being collaborators with their sworn enemies, with is the fascist Republican right-wing establishment for sure. But then of course the far right wing, the base, you know, they view the far right wing base as racist, which in some cases in the South that's absolutely true. I'm not gonna, you know, say that that's in any way false, but I'd also say the far right wing depends on, are you going to call a libertarian far right wing, or are they going to be considered more centrist? You know, this group behind me, it depends on their view on capitalism. I've been seeing a lot of socialists or communist even protests that go on here in Minnesota. So if you're dealing with a socialist, that is communism too in a lot of ways, because socialism, if you read Karl Marx, is a stepping stone to communism. You do it to let capitalism build up, and then you have a workers' revolt to take all the means of production and go full communism. So, you know, I would include that in the left. Now, is that the far left or the left? You know, where do you exactly make those lines in today's politics? That's, you know, I'd like to have a clean political chart that basically we can all agree on, or 90% of us can agree on. Yeah, this is an accurate political chart between what's centrist, what's right-leaning, left-leaning, liberal, Democrat, progressive, Republican. How does these makeups in this current day and age? So with a protest like this would be a coalition, right? Where they have different issues. Some might be here for immigration, some might be here for the socialism. I forgot a few of the other coalitions off the top of my head. If people drive by and honk, that means they support the protest typically. But the thing is, you know, it's been a very big rallying call, these protests lately. So, but going back to the Amy Klobuchar and Tim Walz, the reason why there's such a divide right now within the Democrat Party and the protesters is because of the upcoming primary election that's happening. And I know the next one is happening on March 7th. The delegates have already been decided for these conventions. There's delegates, and then there's the backup delegates. So that's already all figured out right now. And it's the convention process coming up where the actual candidates are going to be decided for the general election. And there's the fight for the U.S. Senate seat that's coming up that Amy Klobuchar resigned so that she can run for governor, and she's going to take over here after Tim Walz if another Democrat gets elected. The Republicans, of course, are trying to put up a fight, but here in Minnesota, they almost always lose. So I think the real election is going to be happening in the primary. And so when they're calling out Amy Klobuchar, when they're calling out Tim Walz, they're doing that for a reason, because they're calling out the establishment Democrats. You see the protest is almost done here. So, Wednesday protest, it's on the smaller side, but, I don't really see any other groups out here protesting these days than leftist ones. So, it's either you're a leftist or go participate elsewhere, basically. I would say they're the most organized group here in Minnesota. Elsewhere, it'd be interesting to see where the other big groups are. Out in the city, beyond the major cities here, I've been seeing other types of protests, for the pro-Trump protests, but they're only ever a couple people. There might be 3 people holding up a flag that's pro-Trump. I've never seen a large pro-Trump protest recently since it was the summertime when he got shot at and had that blood come out of his ear. That was the last, large kind of Trump people being out and on the ground I've seen. There's been, on Whipple, I caught it, that one Jake Lang guy showing up trying to set up in the parking lot. And then he drove by. And the thing is, if you look at his videos, he literally did a Nazi salute at the end. So, that's, I could never be for somebody doing a Nazi salute. When the people literally, and then my guess is he's going to try and play it off like a joke that he did a Nazi salute. Okay, if you think these people are paid, let me know where I can sign up to get paid. I go to enough of these protests. Let me in on that payment. Let me know where I can go sign up. Okay, maybe they have to figure out who you are first before you get paid. But I don't think they're paid. I think these are just people that believe in the cause. There really weren't that much tonight. I've seen a lot bigger protests. There was max 100 people, maybe 60, 70, max. But, another thing to watch is, somebody came up to me to ask if I was Alpha News today. And Alpha News, she's Liz Collins, who got fired from WCCO, or maybe I'm pretty sure she got fired over it. Over some of her reporting and comments and whatnot. And she's been talking about running for government too. And I'd say they're the biggest right-wing media next to Fox 9 or Fox News here in Minnesota. So I can see why they were wondering if I'm them, because they have been known to come to these protests and whatnot. But no, I'm just my own independent guy. I'm a DFL precinct chair. I'd say personally I'm against communism, but I'm for freedom and liberty, democracy. I'm not a Republican, but I believe in the republic and the idea of the republic. And America has a very big issue with the planet. Oh, we got more people driving by here. Okay. But America does have, some dark history that does need to be addressed. At the same time, there's also a lot of history that just swells the heart with these people stood up for something that's so great. And that's the part of America that I want to revive, is when people stand up for what's right and others, that, for freedom and liberty, that's what matters. Now, am I going to always agree with the protesters? No. Partly the reason I don't chant at these things and I give my voice afterwards is because I'm not just going to blindly repeat anything that somebody else says. I'll give my opinion, that kind of thing. But, you know, I want to show, too, the media isn't going to be showing this. The Democrats don't want to show that there's a protest going on because it shows that there's conflict within their ranks. And then the right wing doesn't want to show it either because they don't want to bring press to these coalitions and organizations unless they can put in a bad manner, like them walking in the street, blocking traffic, destroying what happened at Whipple, where the car windshield of the police car got smashed by a dildo. Another cop got hit by a dildo in the head. So, and there was traffic being blocked too. So, you know, I could see why they arrested, and then that's what Fox News puts out there. They're not going to put out like, hey, there's 80 people that got together at the governor's mansion and they were chill, you know, hanging out. There might have been some cursing, but that's the worst it gets, you know. So this is the one thing that does, you know, I can understand going up to somebody who's filming, making, you know, wondering if they're alpha news, but if they are, you know, everybody does have a right to film. Even though I personally disagree with that organization, I believe in the First Amendment, and I don't think that you should shove anybody or you know, try and pressure people to think they aren't allowed in a public space to film, because we are. So, you know, we'll see what happens here. You know, like I said, I'm not a communist. So I might be viewed as the enemy because I'm more of a Hubert Humphrey Democrat. You know, they were calling out liberals. I wouldn't say I'm a liberal per se, maybe a neoliberal, but I'm a libertarian Democrat like Jared Paulus. So if you want to see somebody, you know, is 90% my views, it'd probably be Jared Paulus, or more like his husband. You know, his husband's a vegan, so me and him got a lot in common. But at the same time, I don't just fall for the narratives that happen on the right wing or the left wing. I look up to see what the real truth is behind it, because both sides just want emotional reactions that you got to watch out for. But if it's going to come down to what side I'm really on, I'm on the Democrat side right now. That's who I'm stumping for. So, thanks for stopping by, everybody. You can see we're down to like 2 people, you know. And yeah, you're right, you know, smoke and mirrors. And hey, I watched January 6th from the start to the end, and there was definitely an overreaction on the left-wing media or the liberal media trying to claim it was worse than it was. A lot of people believe cops were literally murdered that day. There were police assaulted, don't get me wrong. But the deaths that day was one of the rioters or protesters, and there were police right next to her that could have arrested her, and they just, you know, she was shot and killed. So, you know, I'm not going to just agree with one side or the other. I'm against police violence and trying to be as non-violent to our own citizens, especially a veteran. You know, she was a veteran. At the very least, you can respect that. Even if she's having a mental crazy day and she's going off, she didn't have a gun on her. So try to figure out a way how to not kill Ashley Babbitt. You know, where they might watch me. Some of these people behind, you know, that were here behind me, that guy especially who came up and was like, oh, 85% of the time, if I think somebody's bad or whatever, you know, they're bad. It's like, okay, that's great to know, man, that you can identify somebody off of like 10 seconds with you. You know, it's like, what are you trying to do? Intimidate me at filming? I'm not going to let anybody intimidate me. That will not happen. You know, I'm not going to die over the cause, hopefully, but I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're right wing, left wing, communist, fascist. You're not going to push me around. So, you know, I don't want to cause a big conflict, but if that dude tries something again, you know, here's proof. You know, he came up and harassed me. So, you know, I might just go off of it. It depends, you know. When there's a lot of people, you know, they might just assume something and attack me. You never know, you know. Sometimes, yeah, if I'm only disagreeing with these protests, I might feel unsafe at times, yeah. You know, they might view me as an alpha news, an agitator or something, but I'm here to be nonviolent. I'm literally a DFL precinct chair. So, you know, I'm engaged in the politics, and I'm trying to engage in them for what I believe the best I can and navigate this, you know, current place we're at politically. I understand why people are upset. You know, I do believe in the Constitution. there's the Second Amendment, and I know they're trying to pass gun laws here. But the thing is, you have to go through the constitutional amendment process to be able to be constitutional. The government can't just pass laws and then think it's going to stick. So we have to do what we can if we really want to, if the solution to ending gun violence is prohibition. The way you do that is like alcohol prohibition. You pass a prohibition of gun ownership. Or, thing I've heard of is like, well, if you have the right to bear arms, that includes, nuclear missiles. Well, make a constitutional amendment outlawing nuclear missiles. There's ways you can amend the Constitution for the future. Yes, it's a hard process to do, but something as simple as outline, nuclear weapons for personal possession, I think that would be a pretty straightforward thing that we could all agree on. So, because that was the big topic today here behind me at the governor's mansion with Tim Walz, is his gun reform. How he said he wants to end gun violence with these reforms. He was pointing to the very, very tragic school shooting here in Minnesota that happened not too far in the past. And I believe in, that, there should be a way to figure it out to protect people. But we have the Constitution that protects our rights, and it's a limitation on government. So if we're going to change something, we have to do it the right way. Like, we can't just pass a law thinking, especially if it has a high chance of being unconstitutional, that it's going to stick. We have to go through the long, arduous process, and that's where politicians have to be honest to their constituents, and especially the people fighting for them. The progressives, the liberals, the leftists, whoever, the Democrat Party that support Tim Walz or got him elected, he's got to be honest and say, these reforms I want to do, some of these might be on the border of unconstitutional. We're going to highlight and say this one is more likely to pass and go through because, these are previous Supreme Court rulings on the subject. But I know there's been in California and New York that had very restrictive gun laws passed. The Supreme Court overturned them. So it isn't as simple as just passing these laws. You have to also change the Constitution if it's unconstitutional. That's why I point to a current unconstitutional thing is the drug war. So, as you can see, everybody's gone behind me. I thank everybody for tuning in and sticking through. So we'll see what happens at the next protest. From Tim Walz's home here in St. Paul, Minnesota, saying good.